all those rock and roll weirdos, the people that used to make life so much fun. Sex and drugs and rock and roll. It'd be nice to, hang on. This looks interesting.
1, 2, 3, 4. Rock and roll weirdos, rock and roll weirdos, rock and roll weirdos.
Welcome to episode 4 of Rock and Roll Weirdos. Our guest today is, we have the privilege of
speaking with Brad Tolinski,
the one and only,
the man of the hour. Sometimes these usually run around 2 hours. You know, we try and keep it under that, but Brad has written books on Jimmy Page, Eddie Van Halen. Didn't you just do an interview with Keith Richards for Guitar Player magazine as well?
The current cover of Guitar Player, the one that's out on the newsstand right now, is my cover story with Mr. Keith Richards.
Oh man!
And his producer Andrew Watt, who is actually really cool too.
That is very cool.
Awesome.
We got a lot of questions because I want to know about that. Did you I actually have I have a question right now. Did you guys do the interview in person at all?
No, actually we did it over the phone.
Okay.
But I met Keith before.
You have?
Yeah. He, I was for your listeners, I was once upon a time the editor of Guitar World magazine.
Woo!
Woo!
And
Guitar World!
25 years.
Yeah. And Keith came down to the office one time, and like a lot of rock stars, they'll come in and they'll do their interview and then they'll get the hell out of Dodge and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
But Keith, he's one of the rare like rock guys that you get a sense really likes people and really likes the job of being a rock musician and a rock star, so he can hang.
Yeah, he wanted to hang. He seems
wow.
He wanted to hang.
I love
Wow.
that. He seems the type of guy that wants to hang.
We had a bottle of vodka and some orange soda for him.
There you go.
He had an acoustic guitar, and he played, and he just hung out, and he was awesome. So this was, we sort of knew each other a little bit, so we had a little rapport going.
That's awesome.
It was pretty easy to interview him. He's a great guy.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
When was
Although
that?
he's gotten a little older, so he's a little bit sort of.
Oh, so he's like a little loopy.
A
touch.
It's just with age, I guess. Everybody.
Yeah, just a touch.
Just a touch, happens.
That is so cool. I didn't even know, how would you even come up with questions for Keith Richards?
Well, I was very fortunate to had an advanced copy of the new Rolling Stones record.
No way.
Which is actually out now. I mean, it was on Spotify. I listened to it again the other day. So, a lot of the chit chat was about that. But I don't know, probably in the last 30 years, at least once a month, I've listened to Beggar's Banquet, Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers, or Exile on Main Street. I mean, if he would have let me talk to him for 3 or 4 hours, I would have had plenty of questions to ask him. But we talked about the new record mostly, and then he let me ask him about a few of the older songs, which was really cool too. Like one of the tunes that we talked about was Can't You Hear Me Knockin'? And everybody always focuses on like Mick Taylor's great guitar solo and the sax solo in that song. But if you listen to Keith's rhythm guitar, you just focus on the rhythm guitar, like you realize that he's doing like 6 different parts in that song, and they're all incredible. Wow. So we chatted about that. And the other classic song I always wondered about was Love in Vain, which is his interpretation of the Robert Johnson song that's on Let It Bleed.
Nice.
And what's interesting about that is he doesn't play it at all like Robert Johnson. Like he had this totally different take on it. And I've always been curious about that. And he was really, he seemed to be pleased that I took notice. And It was interesting because he said he always heard like a country element in that song. It didn't feel like a blues song for him. So he tried to do almost like a country revamp of that song, and that was the part he came up with. And he said, like, Mick Jagger and Mick Taylor and all those guys were way into it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Damn.
Keith
Yeah,
was great.
Wow.
that's that's cool that he took like such a bluesy, like Robert Johnson is like very what is the like very like slide guitar, what is the stupid metal thing you wear on your finger?
Yeah, it's like a slide guitar.
slide?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one. I used to be obsessed with the White Stripes, and Jack White used to do like a ton of stuff with that. So that's how I actually got introduced to Robert Johnson. But it's cool that he changed it to like a country tune, and I can't even imagine. I'm gonna have to check that out because I
Yeah, it's great.
like comparing them.
Yeah.
That stuff always fascinates me when people kind of take it into their own, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
cool.
especially somebody like Robert Johnson who is so revered. It's like
Absolutely.
it's like the Rolling Stones or something. It's like he's so revered that just to sort of, you know, respect it, but do something different with it, I think is really cool.
That's
The
awesome.
the other thing that cracked me up about Keith was he's got like a new song. He's got a new song uh, where he's doing the lead vocals on the new record. It's called "Tell Me Straight." It's a great song, um, and his voice sounds incredible on it. And I was like, Keith, you sound sort of different. You really sound like, I don't know, like a kid on this. Like what's the deal with the voice and your singing? And he goes, well, you know, I just I just gave up smoking cigarettes like about 2 years ago, and all of a sudden I sound different. And the whole thing that cracked me up about it was like, he's 80. Like, who
Yeah.
quits smoking when they're
Yeah.
78?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Who decides this isn't a good thing for me anymore?
78 years and time for a change.
That's it. He moved on to bigger and better things.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Did Brad, does Keith own a lot of guitars? Like, is he like a collector, or does he just kind of? He always seems to be looking like playing kind of road worn, stuff. I don't know if it's just from being on the road, or he's got like a kind of affection, for collecting gear. Did he mention anything like that?
Nah, he's really, he's very faithful to his instruments. It's more like the former, what you said. He's got a couple of tellies that he uses, all the time. There are main instruments. And because also he plays with just 5 strings on his guitar, right? He has it tuned to a open G tuning, so he doesn't have a 6 string. I'm sorry if I'm getting too deep into
I
it.
know.
No.
This
We
is
both
awesome.
we
We
both
both
just
turned to
looked
each
at
other
each
with
other with our jaws
yeah.
dropped.
My mouth was open. I was like, "What? I
Yeah,
didn't know that."
but actually with this record, he's playing a lot of this Gibson that he's just sort of gotten into over the last few years. It's like a 339, and so no, he's not like a guy that I'm sure he has a lot of instruments, but he seems pretty faithful on this sort of handful of instruments he has. It's like his palette. He sort of knows what to go to for what tones, and he's got his Fender and he's got his Gibson, and I think just gear wise, just really quick, the one thing that was interesting was the producer, this guy Andy Watt. I call him a kid. I mean, he's like 31 years old.
Oh damn, that
Uh,
is a kid.
he was 15 years old when the Stones made their last album of original music.
That is insane.
Wow.
Uh,
God.
and but Andy has a lot of experience. He produced like the last 2 Ozzy records, and he produced like some hip hop records like Post Malone and some other stuff. I mean, he's got a lot of experience, but he's also a total guitar nerd. And he brought to the sessions these Dumble modified Fender twin reverbs. Now, do you guys know anything about Dumble? Does that
I don't
name?
actually.
No.
Yeah, he's this amp guru who he passed away a couple of years ago, but he would just made his own amps or he would modify, but literally he had a list of, like you couldn't get him to work on your amps. Like he had like a 10-year waiting list. And this young guy, this producer had like two modified twin reverb Dumbles, which is, I don't know, it's like a unicorn or something. You just
Wow.
don't see it. So, and I guess Keith played a lot through those. So that's your gear rundown.
Wow.
Do you know how the Stones or Keith Richards or found this kid?
Well, yeah, he's, like I said, he's sort of in the rock and roll world and even in the hip hop world, he's sort of the hot commodity.
Gotcha.
And when I talked to him, and we talked for like 3 hours, like we're both guitar
Of course you did.
geeks, and whatever. And how he got to the Stones was he was working with Paul McCartney, as we do.
Oh my gosh.
And he actually had to put the McCartney project on hold in order to go and work with the Stones for 2 months. So yeah, I mean, he's like a New York kid. I mean, he was probably I know people that knew him. So he was bouncing around playing in rock bands in New York, like 5-6 years ago.
What's his last name? Andy
Watt, Watt. Yeah, he produced Iggy Pop's last record.
I listened to that. I really liked some great songs.
I just looked up Andy Watt.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyways, he's had a remarkable 4 or 5 years.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking right now. He worked with Pearl Jam.
Yeah, he's doing the new Pearl Jam record.
Wow.
Everybody wants this kid. The record sounds good, by the way. And you can sort of see why the Stones might like him because, this will be controversial, but he put a bit of a modern sheen on the classic sound. You get those sort of stacked vocals and,
Yeah.
some people hate that, but, he was just trying to make the Stones sound contemporary. There's a lot of stuff he didn't mess with, like the lead vocals. There's no like quantized nonsense or anything on that stuff, but you do get a bit of that modern digital sheen on the record.
I noticed that with Angry, like it was like really cool, but then part of me was like, wait, there's something else. There's got to be something else going on here. Like,
Is that the one that he did with Lady Gaga?
no, that was a different song.
Sweet Sounds of Heaven.
That's it.
Yeah, Angry is a pretty good example.
I really like it. Yeah, Angry.
He actually co-wrote that too. They gave him a co-write, and I was like, holy shit.
Oh my God.
Damn, this guy's set.
Mick Taylor and Ronnie Wood couldn't even get co-writes, and this kid's got it.
What?
That's wild.
The thing I really liked was when someone asked Mick Jagger just recently about whether he, had any plans to retire, basically, and his answer was just so good. He just said, "Look, we've got the tour coming up, and then once we've finished that tour, then we're worrying about the next tour, and the tour after that. So, am I, thinking about stopping soon, or do I think about stopping?" He's like, "No, not really." I just thought that was such a great answer.
What was interesting was so the very last song on the record is that their version of the Muddy Waters song Rolling Stone. And Rolling Stone is actually where the band got its name from. I mean, literally, they were sitting around trying to think of what to call the band, and this Muddy Waters record was laying on the floor, and they were like, actually, Brian Jones was like, let's call it Rolling Stone. So, anyways, it's just Keith and Mick at the end playing this Muddy Water song. And I said to Keith, I go, you know, I'm probably reading too much into it, but this would be a great way for you guys to end your recording career with the song that started the whole thing. Gave you the name, that started the whole thing. I go, am I reading too much into it? And he seemed genuinely surprised by that question. he was like, I'm not stopping. I mean,
it's a great question.
It was everything that he could do, from not saying "go fuck yourself," which would have been fine by me. Yeah. Richards tell me to go fuck myself. That's an honor.
That is an honor.
Okay with that.
Brad, I delved into your Wikipedia page today.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was so cool. It just, I'm not sure if you wanted to talk about it quickly, but just, if from what I read was correct, it sounded like around 1985, you kind of moved to New York, and then you were working. It said it was like one of the first like digital studios using like Apple computers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I was starting with that stuff way early. It was this place. I started working on the legendary We Buy Guitars on 48th Street. And it was for those, can remember, at one point, 48th Street in New York had all these great music stores on both sides. They're all gone now. But We Buy Guitars was this great used guitar store. It had all this vintage stuff in it. And one of the owners there was super progressive, and he got into the, sequencing music and working with MIDI and all that stuff really early on. And him and I sort of went off and started this other, it was sort of like a, just advise people, just taught them how to use, MIDI and sequencing. And it was very, very primitive then, and nobody really understood it. And among our students were like Donald Fagen and Elliot Easton of the Cars, and Carlos Alomar from David Bowie's.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And so we were there, and we basically were showing these guys the potential of sequencing and using MIDI. And a publisher approached me and said, "Hey, I'm putting together this magazine. Would you want to write for it?" And it was called, had the sexy name of Music, Computers, and Software. And
that sounds right up Paul's alley.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I really started in the magazine business, was writing for that company.
Wow.
And what was really cool about that was there was this thing that was just starting up called the internet. You may remember it. And it was literally inhabited by just like rocket scientists and stuff like that. It was just a super underground thing. And we were actually contacted by the government to start a music website within the internet. And we started one of the first music websites too.
Oh, wow.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah, no, if I hadn't been young and stupid, I would have figured out some way to capitalize on all of this.
Oh, no.
But I was young and stupid, so.
Yep. Like, you've seen it progress.
Yeah, I mean, what I found out was that guitars were a lot less complicated and more fun. So
There you go.
I ended up ended up at Guitar World. And, I still sort of stay in touch with the technology, but not like I was, and but yeah, it has been incredible to watch the progression of this thing. But mostly I'm just kicking myself because I didn't figure out how to make $1 billion off of it. I was there at the beginning.
That's so wild. But I mean, yeah. How are you gonna know? I feel like you could say that about so many things.
While I was at the digital music center, which is what we called ourselves at the time, which was essentially just like a little hole in the wall in some building in Midtown. I was playing in a band, and I had this band, and we had this idea, a super strong idea. Like I'd played in all these sort of progressive rock bands and sort of technical bands, and tired of not making any money or sort of getting anywhere with it other than playing the odd gig here and there. So I said to my two other bandmates, I go, let's do something really, really interesting. We have our hands and access to all this technology. Let's create like a futuristic band. And we called ourselves the Picture Phones. So think about that.
Damn.
Think about that.
Oh my God. You predicted the future.
The reason I came up with that name was because I was like, oh, what would young teenage girls be interested in? It's popular. Oh, if they could talk on the phone and see pictures of the other person in it, that would be great, wouldn't it? So we called ourselves the Picture Phones, and it was a really interesting band because it was me on electric violin, mostly, a little bit of guitar. We had a bass player singer, and we had a keyboard player. And we did everything with drum machines and sequencing and everything like that. So we put together this band. It was this super futuristic idea. And even the setup was cool. I've never seen anybody else do this. And we basically set up as a trio and had the keyboard player who also ran the drum machine up where the drums would be, up on the riser, right?
Yeah.
So it's just really weird looking. And so we got all this interest from this one, record company and this really hotshot lawyer. And they said, look, they heard our demo, this is great. We love this concept, and, put on a showcase for us. So we booked the show at the Limelight, which in New York at the time was this beautiful venue that was in this church. It's still there, but it isn't a music club any longer. It's a big deal music club. And we spent like literally 3 months with all this technology, just programming stuff, like like tons of synthesizers, all this stuff. It was like incredible. And we go to play, and that evening we decided to make it a whole futuristic technological thing. We set up 3 computers, and we had people like, you can talk to people in Los Angeles via this thing called the internet on these computers.
Oh
and nobody really heard of the internet before. And all these people showed up, like, like the B-52s were there, and like, Laurie Anderson's producer, and our lawyer and record company people. And we have everything set up on stage, and we get up and play, and the first song, it's just killing. And second song, it's just killing. Then the third song happens, and this is all, again, done on these pretty primitive computers by today's standards. And all of a sudden, we start into the next song, the lights on the stage change. And the one thing our keyboard player, technology wizard, Mark Sterling, forgot to do is put like a surge protector in between all of our gear. And when the lights changed, it created electric surge. It basically wiped out everything. everything that we had programmed.
Oh,
And it just imploded,
Oh.
Oh man.
yeah, in front of all these people. And we're like, oh, I guess that's that.
Oh my
oh,
god.
And kind of limp off the stage. Now, I'm I'm sort of shocked at my response to all of this. We get backstage and we were just cracking up. I mean, we should have been mortified.
You should have been crying.
Yeah, we should have been crying, but we were just like, wow, we really blew it. Big time, like way big time. And we all had a pretty good sense of humor about it. And we might even continued to go on, but then the keyboard player guy got hired to do the keyboard tech for David Bowie. So anyways, that ended that. But here's the kicker to the whole thing, which I don't think I told you about, Abby, is that it's like 30 years later, 25, 30 years, I get a phone call from the lawyer who was there at the show, who was, brought all these people down.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, Brad, I'm glad I could find you. He goes, I'm writing this book. I'm writing a story and about my career. He was the lawyer for all these big shot rock bands, and I'm writing this book, and I want to put in a section about what happened to you guys. And I was like,
You're like, you had to rub it in,
Yeah.
didn't you?
you're killing me. But there was another part of me that sort of wondered if it was as bad as I remembered it to be. Because
Yeah.
it's a couple of decades, and I never really talked about it that much to anybody else. And
Yeah.
I was it that bad? And then he sent me the text for like his telling of the story, and it was worse.
Oh my
no.
god. What did he say?
Well, he basically told the whole story, and just what a disaster it was from his perspective. So
Oh.
I was like, ouch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seriously.
His book never came out.
Yeah,
so,
you're like, don't hold back, man.
Yeah. Time heals all wounds.
You should, Brad, I think your next book should be about this lawyer dude.
I don't hold anything against this guy. I mean,
Yeah.
we're the ones that screwed up, I mean, and I don't think he was necessarily trying to make me feel bad. In fact, it was quite nice on the phone. He was just telling his life story, and I thought, you guys are rock and roll weirdos. Rock and roll, it's filled with disaster.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
disaster is underrated.
Yeah.
Like
It is.
it's how you learn about things.
Oh my
I
gosh.
feel like just thinking of disaster literally reminds me of. I just had a flashback to when we were contacted by like The Voice to do a private audition, and remember we all hauled ass there in a snowstorm.
Oh yeah.
We got there and it was just like teeny boppers everywhere, and I think as soon as we were like playing and auditioning, they were like filming us and all this. I think all of us kind of realized like, why the fuck
We were so out of place.
did we come here?
And
Like,
then
why
we
did
could-
we even bother?
And the producers and things seemed to be looking at us like you could just tell like
There was a huge disconnect.
they just walked in the room, and when you just see the way they were looking at us, I was almost like, okay, we could start packing
Yeah.
up now.
like
But we stayed the course.
we did. We played 2 whole songs.
We got a couple of claps.
But that's what yeah, you're so right, Brad, when you say like rock and roll is filled with disaster. Like things always go
People
wrong.
make whole careers out of it.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seriously injured myself on stage, like, well, at least twice. The first time we were playing a high school, and
Who was playing?
my old band, Goodnight
In New
Nurse,
Zealand.
in New Zealand, and we did this high schools tour. It was crazy. It was like 120 different venues over like 5 months or something.
That's too much.
And it was like, but we went to this one anyway. The gig is going so good. Like Brad was saying, like the first couple of songs, like everything's great, and I was really getting into it. So I was like, I wanted to jump up and play next to Jaden, the drummer. So I had to jump up the drum riser, and you can see where this is going. I jumped up, and the strap on my bass slipped off my shoulder. So I went to grab my bass, but I was still going up, and my shin, like literally, it just went straight into the corner of the drum riser. And then and my bass hit the drum riser, made this huge noise. Everybody turned around. And then I think I just tried to like keep playing, like, oh, it's all fine. And then these girls were in the front. This is like a high school. This girl's pointing to me and pointing to my leg, and she's like, "You're bleeding." I was just like, oh, like, what are you gonna do? Like,
did you just look down and you're
yeah? And I looked and I was like,
head.
fuck, I really am bleeding. Yeah.
I thought you were bleeding from your head.
That
once.
was the second time.
Oh my
yeah.
God. What's
the
wrong
second
with
time I went to
you?
jump off, riser or some stage thing, and there was monitors above that I didn't see, and I just clocked my head into it. And again, someone told me, they were like, wow, you really only missed a beat or two, and then just started playing again. And it was the same thing. Someone else was looking over at me, and he was shaking his head, and it was like I had blood coming down my face. And then I spent the rest of the night in the emergency room, making sure I didn't have a concussion.
You didn't put some on your hands and lick it?
Oh.
It did. People did say it looked really cool because they had I wish that no photos exist.
No photos?
No.
I would have liked to see that. I feel like that's very out of character of your everyday personality.
I know. It's nothing like my everyday. I can't find anything.
You're a pretty physical rock and roll performer, Paul.
Oh, thanks, Brad. Yeah. I used to I used to definitely get into it. It was.
What about Brad, remember you did the what was it, the CBGB's show thing we played with you guys?
Oh yeah, where was it?
It was at
Arba.
Oh yeah, Arbar.
Arba.
And remember you during the show, Paul was like playing bass and got down on his knees and was like playing on his knees, and then
it was the Spinal Tap. I couldn't get up. I remember that.
I remember.
I mean, we had definitely been drinking a bit. So
I gave you the death stare. I was
yeah.
so mad. He was playing everything off. He was stuck on the ground, and he's just laughing.
I was having the time of my life.
I wanted to murder.
And now we're married.
See, that's the beautiful thing. So I'm working on a new book. I'm working on a bio of Jeff Beck.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
Guitarist Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
And there's a great story. He was playing in a band called the Yardbirds. Very early on. And the Yardbirds were playing this gig, and the lead singer got it was like some sort of like weird like debutante ball. It was like some super upscale thing. And the singer hated it, and he got really drunk, and he was cursing at the audience and screaming and everything like that. And the bass player, who was super uptight, quit that night. And that's when Jimmy Page joined the band. So, and the reason that Jimmy wanted to join the band was because he was there at the performance, and he thought it was so hilarious and so punk rock. Such a mess that he decided to quit his studio gig to start playing gigs with the Yardbirds. So
wow.
I mean,
that's incredible.
Give them all the dirty looks you want, Abby. Jimmy Page, you never know. Jimmy Page might have joined your band.
That's so cool.
That's crazy. That's really cool though. Like, I love that. I feel like that makes me love Jimmy Page even more. You know what I mean? Like seeing that and you're like, oh, this is such a shit show. It's going to be amazing. Like,
yes, exactly.
Exactly. I feel like that's taking quite the chance, leaving your studio gig for something that unpredictable or someone that unpredictable.
Well, that's what I sort of just that was some of the fun of playing in New York was just seeing what a mess it all could be sometimes. I mean, like I think that's even like going back to that show where everything's screwed up in front of those people, and that was sort of my idea about it. Like, okay, this was a disaster. Hilarious.
Aw, I wish I had been more like that. I feel like I definitely took it very seriously, probably too serious. I had fun, but I took it so seriously, and I wish I could have been more like that
Yeah. Yeah.
in hindsight.
But there's still time.
There is still time. Look what we're doing. We're here
What you're
now. On our love seat. We're not even on our big couch. We're in our bedroom on our little love seat, 2-seater. One of our 3 cats in front of us, and we're doing it. Just being weird, putting it out there for the world, being real weird.
See, but nobody can see you. So, like right then, I would suggest you should just lie about where you're at. We're just here. We're on George Washington's nose on Mount Rushmore.
See, this is why you got where you did in your career with music, and I got where I did.
Lies. It's all
Yeah, brilliant lies. Brilliant. George Washington's
George
nose.
Washington's nose.
I don't know why that came to me. It just did.
I love it. Wait, so you're currently working on the Jeff Beck book now?
Yes.
That's really cool. Paul recently got very into Jeff Beck because Paul is a big fan of Johnny Depp, and they were playing together.
He actually lived a pretty healthy lifestyle. Like he was very early on, like I'm talking about like 1969, 70, into animal rights and became a vegetarian. And
Wow.
he used to drink, but he didn't really do drugs or anything like that. He just, hey man, it happens, even if you're a rock star, right?
I was just going to go back to Jeff Beck. I had never really, I'd heard of him. I knew he was like awesome, but I was listening to some of his popular stuff, and then I was listening to like the Jeff Beck group, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't know Rod Stewart was the singer. And it was just, I feel like I went down a bit of a rabbit hole. It was really cool, but I mean, when I watch those Jeff Beck videos and it's him all just instrumental and he's just mesmerizing like a whole hall or something. It was crazy. Like it was just like real magic,
Yeah, no, Jeff, it's, by the way, that's a good rabbit hole to go down. If you want to go down, any of you people listening, you want to go down a good rabbit hole, go listen to a bunch of Jeff Beck. You could do a lot worse. But yeah, when you're doing these books, I'm doing my research and I'm finding all sorts of new things, and I'm going back and revisiting the music. And those 2 records with Rod Stewart, the 2 Jeff Beck group records that were recorded in 68, 69, those 2 years, they are fantastic.
Yeah.
And massive influence on everything that came after. I mean, they were sort of the huge influence on Led Zeppelin. And all the bands that followed. Yeah, and Jeff is unusual because you always get these musicians that have this sort of peak when they're younger, and then they sort of hang on and they're they do good stuff and whatever, but his guitar playing actually just kept on progressing. Like he was doing, in terms of just straight up guitar playing, he was doing his best work, right up until the very end. He was just getting better and more in control and more imaginative with everything that he was playing. And that's just such a rare thing.
That sounds like impossible to comprehend.
I don't know how you do it.
I guess it's just, it's just the genuine love of what you do. And the guy was always looking for ways to challenge himself.
Yeah.
And he did create a entirely new sort of vocabulary that, music vocabulary that I don't know really anybody could in a certain way follow. He played with his fingers and using the vibrato arm, and like he almost played the guitar like a theremin or something like that. But really cool stuff, and it's exciting for me to write the book because I get a
Awesome.
chance to really go back and listen and hopefully create some cool insights for people, and turn all sorts of people onto this guy's music. But I do have another new book coming out next year on the MC5. Are you guys into the MC5 at all?
We
Do you
never
know what
got
that
into
is?
them. We know who they are, but I never did you I never
I
got
didn't.
into them.
I didn't. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the MC5 were this band out of Detroit, and I'm from Detroit. So in some ways, it's working on this book was almost like a homecoming in a kind of way. And why I decided to do a book on them, if people know them at all, it's from the song "Kick Out the Jams," where they go "Kick out the jams, motherfuckers," Um, but their story is it's one of the greatest rock stories never told, or one of the best rock stories ever. And what happened is they were just a bunch of crazy radical guys in Detroit in the mid 60s, and they were managed by this guy named John Sinclair. And John Sinclair was one of the foremost hippie radicals of the late 60s. Like he was the guy that was the equivalent of Jerry Rubin and Abby Hoffman and all these wild, crazy guys that were protesting in the street and trying to stop the Vietnam War. And Sinclair also started a thing called the White Panthers, which was supposed to be a sort of white support group to the Black Panthers, sort of, if you want to call it this, an early version of Black Lives Matter. And was also on the forefront of trying to legalize marijuana, and also on the forefront of trying to stop police brutality. And if any of this sounds familiar, it's basically the invention of what I would call the new left. His sort of idea was to take this great rock and roll band and weaponize it for political purposes, to spread the word of what he called sex, drugs, and fucking in the streets. It's an extraordinary story. They only lasted a few years before basically Hoffman got thrown in jail, and the politics went south, and the band got addicted to smack, and it was like an old story. But there's all these different elements to it, including Sinclair basically got sentenced to 10 years in jail for having two joints and John Lennon and Yoko Ono did one of their few concerts as a benefit to get him out of jail.
Wow.
Wow.
And actually, like a week after they did the concert, they actually let John Sinclair out of jail. I mean, but it's sort of this story of crazy rock band and politics, and the beginnings of far left radical politics in the United States.
Wow.
And so it's a little different. It's a different book
Yeah.
for me. It's not such, about some guitar player, so music nerdy. It's a bigger cultural story. I'm really excited about it.
When does that come out?
It's actually finished. It's done. And we're not going to put it out until it'll come out in August of next year,
Okay.
because we're going to release it right in the middle of the presidential election, because I sort of want it to be sort of an alternative political story during that period, that time.
That's cool.
Cool.
Yeah. So anyways, I've been busy.
That's what I've been saying. I know you've been busy.
Brad, do you still get some time in on the guitar?
Yeah, I play all the time, dude.
Nice.
It's crazy. Mostly because, like, I will spend. People will say, "Well, gee, how are you doing all this stuff?" And I'm like, "Well, because I'm a writer, and I actually sit in front of a computer for 6 or 7 hours every day doing this thing."
Yeah.
But you can't write all the time, so I have a guitar right next to me,
Nice.
And I play a lot. I end up playing a lot, sort of like, well, I'm trying to get my ideas together. And I'm consulting for this new amplifier company called Spark Amplifiers. Have you ever heard of that? Have you heard of that,
I
Paul?
haven't. I haven't. No.
It's by this company called Positive Grid. And this is almost a continuation of what I was talking about earlier, an artificially intelligent amplifier. And it's
Wow.
really incredible. And what's amazing is not only is it a smart amp in that like you can control it through an app and you can get like literally 10,000
That's
sounds on this
insane.
thing. It's small, like it'll sit on your desktop, and it sounds, the speaker sort of technology that's in it is incredible, and it just sounds huge. And
Wow.
it actually has become the largest selling practice amp on Amazon like over the last year. And the company's really just taken off, and they're doing all these other sort of intelligent products. But it'll analyze songs. It'll figure out the chords for you on the app if you want to use it for that, of any song that you want to play it through. Like you can play chords on it, and it will actually come up with a bass and a drum track for you. It'll analyze what you're doing.
What?
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, no, it's crazy. So I'm sort of still getting my guitar yayas out by working with that company.
Cool.
That's so cool. That's like,
You guys have to check it out. I should send you one.
yeah, we literally, I can't even imagine that. Like,
It basically hooks up to an app.
uh-huh.
And you go up and it'll show a picture of like different speaker configurations and different amplifiers and little different effects, and you just adjust it on your app,
Oh,
and
on the app.
it comes out of your amp.
Brad, is there a bass version coming soon?
It
What does it do, bass?
it does bass.
What?
Yeah. And the real interesting thing is they just released a new product. So the thing, it comes in like 3 different smaller sizes,
Yeah.
and like a 40-watt version, a little smaller, and and now they've just come out with a cab, so you can just take your powered cab, so you can take all of the presets and everything that you've created on your little amp and hook it up to this big cab and use it on stage now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I
Positive
feel
Grid,
s-
go check it out. The Spark Amplifier.
Spark amplifier. That I feel so far behind. Like, I'm still like thinking about like the 3 different pedals. You know what I mean? I had the tuner, the distortion pedal, and then the other one that I'm not quite sure what it did, but it was there. And then you hear this. You know what I mean? Like, that's wild.
What's cool is they've built this huge community, and so people are also doing their own sounds
Oh wow.
and sharing them. So like if you went up on there and you said, "Oh, give me your," you type in Eddie Van Halen, it'll come up on your cell phone like 30 different options, and it'll be stuff that the company's programmed plus what a bunch of other lunatics have programmed into this thing. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. But I feel like they're probably gonna put everyone out of business, or everyone's just gonna have to keep up and have to do that as well.
Well, that's why I was interested in working with these guys, was because to me, again, it's sort of like, when that gave me the same feeling that I had when I was like, oh, this thing called the internet looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
you know, it's weird because like guitar players typically aren't sort of futurists,
Mm-hmm.
but I enjoy that as well. Like, okay, what else can you do?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get a little bored with the same old shit.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
I'm like, we gotta try this thing.
Yeah, we gotta.
it's freaking cheap too. It's not that expensive, but it sounds terrific.
That's amazing.
Keith Richards actually uses one as his backstage as his warm-up amp.
No way.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Steve Vai uses one as his warm-up amp. So you really have two guys on the complete opposite end of the spectrum using this thing.
It's the next
I just
generation.
keep trying to picture it in my head. I'm like, I gotta see it to believe it.
It's like, we will take over your soul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then one day you're just about to start a gig and something pops up and it says you need to pay like $9.99 before we can unlock your amplifier or something.
No, it'll be just one day, like you guys will be doing your show and Abby will be gone and there'll just be this little amplifier going, hello, Paul. You don't need her.
Yeah.
I am here. Your amplifier.
What does she have that I do not have? Oh, wait. Abby? Abby just needs to take a break.
Okay.
I'll be 2 seconds.
Yeah, it sounded a lot better once we started. The echo kind of went away.
It's the marijuana, Paul.
Yeah. Definitely.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. I have a question. So what? So
Are we back on?
We're rolling.
sorry, you didn't even get the heads
I
up.
should have told Brad.
That's how we roll here.
You never know when you're on the air.
Brad is no longer here.
Brad, what is your favorite book that you've written so far? Out of all of them.
The next one you're going to buy. No, I don't know.
Well, you didn't have any that particularly like I feel like out of all the ones you wrote, like I've always been obsessed with Led Zeppelin. So Jimmy Page, like, we still have that. We have it here. It's awesome.
Yeah, that was that was a lot of fun to put together, but it was my first book, so
it wasn't as fun because it was
no, I wouldn't, not that it's fun. It's just I think I got a little bit better at putting together these things a little bit.
Gotcha.
The Van Halen. I did this Van Halen book, and oh my God, the response was so incredible to it. Howard Stern talked about it.
Wow. Go Brad.
Yeah, for like 20 minutes.
Wow.
I wasn't listening to Howard, but all these friends told me, and then they sent me the whole section, but like Howard talking about your book, forget it. It just,
you've got it made in the shade.
But actually probably my favorite book, and I wouldn't want this again if people listening out there, if you love Eddie Van Halen, I have a book called Eruptions, Conversations with Eddie Van Halen, which is, just taken from hours and hours of interviews I've done with Ed. And then I did this other book that Abby's talking about called Light and Shade, Conversations with Jimmy Page. And it's a collection of interviews that I did with Jimmy, where he goes into a great deal of detail about all the Led Zeppelin records and, even some of his cool occulty stuff we talked about. And but there was this book called came out a few years ago that I wrote called Play It Loud, an epic history of the style, sound, and revolution of the electric guitar. It was in many ways sort of a summation of my life's work, studying the guitar, playing the guitar, and, just being able to write about the history of it in a really, sort of hopefully entertaining, cultural way. And when I was writing it, I thought I knew everything. And just turned out there were these huge gaps, and I had to go back and really learn and study. And I learned about players and musicians I hadn't really focused on before, like the jazz guitarist Charlie Christian, who I genuinely love. And where all this music started, and the guitars how that influenced the music. Anyways, it turned out really good. It was turned into an exhibit at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, where they brought in all the guitars, a lot of the guitars that were featured in the book into the museum. So
Wow.
that was super legitimizing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I went out in front of the Met, which is like one of the world's great museums, and I saw a banner down the side saying, play it loud, my book and stuff. So, I would sort of joke about it that I would just basically at 4 a.m. go out in front of that when there was nobody around and jerk off in front of them.
That's how you know you made it.
So I'm sorry if I put that image into anybody's head. So,
Oh my God. That is
but
incredible.
yeah, Play It Loud is really it was a lot. It was so much fun and so interesting to do. And but your favorite one it's like music, it's always the one that you're working on, and it's always the next thing,
Yeah. I feel like when you said that, like the Jimmy Page one was your first book and you like have, learned how to do it since, it's like similar to songwriting. You know what I mean? Like in the beginning, it's a little like shaky and weird, but obviously like not saying it's hot, like, oh, it's so bad, but like it's, as you keep going, you learn.
Yeah.
I guess that's everything, right?
Yeah.
You become a little more sophisticated, and
Yeah.
and now I think too is like when I was working on that book, I was also at the same time the editor of Guitar World. So I mean, I had a job and I was writing on top of it. So I think I think it turned out really good, and it did well, and I still whenever people write stuff about Led Zeppelin or books about that, they're always stealing stuff from my books, so stealing quotes in my interviews and stuff. So, I mean, it was a good book, but, it was done usually in a state of exhaustion because I already had a job and I was writing. So now also I'm just basically just more focused on my writing. And I think, I've just become better.
Wait, Brad, where are you now? Are you in New York?
No, I'm out in Cape Cod, Massachusetts.
Is that where you live now?
Yeah.
It sounds really, really rustic.
It sounds so relaxing.
It's a little rustic. It's a little lonely out here, especially in the winter. So that's what I do is I get myself booked on podcasts so I have somebody to talk with. I'm teasing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's lovely out here. I had to flee New York like many people did during COVID.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
And I may be back. I'm looking at some places now. So Manhattan might be back in my future.
Really?
Yep.
Love it. You got to keep us posted.
Mm-hmm.
It must be so nice though, Brad, having the space. Like you must have a lot of space.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, it's lovely out here, but in my heart, I'm a street rat. So,
Yeah.
I go back to, New York quite a bit, and I'm always like, so cool. I want to be back here. Yeah.
I feel like I'm the opposite. I'm like, get me out of here. I'm ready to go. I'm ready. Today I was looking up the price of houses in Portland, Oregon.
Did you just pick it out of a hat? Like Portland, Oregon.
No, I just think of like places I might want to live if I didn't live here, even though we're never leaving. Like my whole family's here and everything, but a gal could dream.
Well, you can, you don't have to live right in the city.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like
Nah, you admit, you think that. You
I
think
know
that.
you're so right because then we leave for
think
like
that.
5 days and I'm like, I want to go home.
Yeah.
So this is, so that as long as we both work here, it's beyond convenient. We don't do anything. We don't drink. We don't go out. So we both just work and.
Shh.
Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm drunk right now.
I'm drunk on conversation with Abby. I've got to work with you. I've got to coach you.
Oh, I know. But this is like part of the like self-deprecating,
No, but I do know that the grime and the dirt of New York City, it runs through your veins. You can't help it, girl.
No, it's true. It's true.
It's true.
I'm a dirty girl.
I bet, Abby, if you suddenly, I bet if you were suddenly,
Say it with one more time with conviction.
I'm sorry, I almost spit out my seltzer. I mean my beer.
beer, yeah,
Yeah.
we gotta get this facts
I
straight.
just spit out my heroin. Sorry.
Oh my god, this is why Brad, you're the real writer here. You are
Yeah,
he took it to heroin. I was like, damn, that's good. I feel like for me, it takes me like a minute to get there, but you just boom,
Yeah,
took it right there.
exactly.
I guess you can coach me after all.
I can. I'll have you cursing like a sailor in no time.
Oh man, I pretty much do, right? I curse a lot.
do you curse at work?
No, I don't curse at work. I work with brides. You can't
Do you have some kind of like restraining bolt or something? Like, how do you not?
because I am the master of I don't know. I don't know. I'm a different person when I work. I feel like that when I work, I'm
true.
performing.
Yeah. I guess everyone is. You're different at work.
Yeah.
You can't just do whatever you want.
Not me.
Oh my god, that was incredible.
I know. Brad's the rebel.
Rebel. Exactly.
It is. It's amazing though, like
Cape Cod a new one, I got to tell you.
But Brad, the life you've created yourself by not compromising, that's pretty impressive, I must say.
Yep. I make everybody else compromise to be my friend.
That's it. Oh my God, we haven't even, I feel like we barely even touched like being at Guitar World for 25 years. I know you got some stories for us.
Let's see. Stories at Guitar World.
Juicy stories.
Okay, well, I'll do it. I'll sort of combine stories. So
I'll take it.
while I was at Guitar World, I actually did, develop a good relationship with Eddie Van Halen, guitar god, and my book, the Eruption Conversations with Eddie Van Halen, were based on a lot of stories and a lot of time that I spent with Ed at that time. And, a lot of those things would end up in Guitar World. Of course, Guitar World was sort of Eddie Van Halen central. So, Ed Van Halen was playing a show, and they invited me to come out to see them play. So I went, and then afterwards, after the show was over, I went backstage and was hanging out with Ed and the band. And Ed was like looking at me, and he says, Brad, I gotta talk to you about something. And I'm like, oh, what's up, Ed? And he says, nah, it's not here. This isn't right. Here, follow me. So we go out of this like little green room that they had, this backstage thing. And I'm following Ed, and he's sort of taking me through these different hallways in the back of the stadium. I forget where it was now, which one, but let's just say Madison Square Garden. It wasn't Madison Square, but anyways, he took me through sort of the back, and I'm following him, and he's going this, and then he ends up at like the bathroom, and he's like, come here in the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, this is getting weird, you know? So I get in the bathroom, and it's this gigantic sort of like bathroom in the back of an enormous dome, and we're the only people in there. And he goes, gotta tell you something. I go, what is it, Ed? He goes, I don't know, man. You gotta do something with your hair. You gotta like fluff it up. You know,
What?
it was so surprising. You know,
Oh
at the
my
time I
goodness.
thought I looked okay, but you know,
That's amazing.
That's
that was
amazing.
what he wanted to impart upon me. But working at Guitar World was an incredible experience. I feel like I got a lot of good karma from that because, you know, essentially the thrust of the magazine was just getting people excited about playing an instrument, you
Mhm.
know, about being creative. And especially at the time I was doing, I sort of tell people this. And for me, the idea of Guitar World was creating a love letter to my sort of 14-year-old self.
Mm.
You know, what I really wanted to do was not necessarily a magazine that reflected my own taste, but something that would get young people excited about playing music, and whatever that meant, like whatever music they were listening to, I was fine with it. Like, let's put those people in the magazine. Let's tell the kids that are their fans like how these guys play music and get them excited about, you know, practicing the guitar. And the thing that always struck me was there's very few things, I mean, in the world that encourages young guys especially how to be creative, how to do something creative, right?
Yeah.
Most of the stuff in culture, especially aimed at young guys, and I'm not saying guitar is just for guys, you know, like most of the stuff that's aimed at young guys, right, are like sports, like you know, or you know, video games, you know, all this aggressive stuff. Very few things out there were saying, you know, it's okay to be, you know, creative and you know, artistic, and I really saw Guitar World as this great opportunity. So it was always super important to me that it was entertaining, that it was really well edited, you know, that it was going to be smart. Because if you're gonna like, it's impossible to get a young dude to like read, you know.
Yeah.
So if they're going to read something, then like let's make it really good, you know. And so that for me was, you know, there's 25 years of really creating a you know, and influencing a generation of young people on, you know, how to play music. And I feel like that was a life well spent.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Wow. That's so true. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, I never wore it on my sleeve that way because, you know, I mean, like, oh, look what I'm doing, you know? but sort of like that was my inspiration for it, and that was my guiding star, you know. And I think Guitar World was at one point it you know, people are sort of surprised by this, but it sold incredibly well. In fact, at Walmart, which was sort of the world's, like America's newsstand, like in, you know, New York, you had newsstands all over the place,
Mhm.
but in the rest of America, like you had to go, you know, you didn't go to a newsstand to buy a magazine. Where you did is you went to Walmart, right?
Hmm.
So Walmart was this huge chain that um, that the magazine industry sort of gauged like how successful your magazine was in terms of sales.
Oh wow.
And Guitar World, for at least 3 years, was what they called the category captain in entertainment. It was the biggest selling entertainment magazine at Walmart. It was outsold Rolling Stone, Entertainment Weekly, Vanity Fair. Like it was
Wow.
huge. And I think the reason for that success was because it it was essential for certain people. Like those magazines weren't essential. Like, but if you were a guitar player and you needed to learn how to play the latest song or this that, it became like really, it had real function
Yeah.
to it, be above and beyond just a fun read or something like that. So you know I I was editing a magazine, but in many ways I sort of felt like like the cool music teacher or something.
Yeah.
Although, although it had its drawbacks. It was really funny. I was talking to this one friend of mine who I hadn't seen for a long time, and she reached out to me and said, "Oh, I read your book. I read Play It Loud." She goes, "Well, it was really good." And like she said it like she was sort of shocked that it was well written. And I said, "Well, I did do Guitar World for a bunch of years." She goes, "Well, I know that, but I thought that magazine, I didn't really read it, but I thought it was a funny kind of writing. Like it was weird, like you just wrote about guitars and stuff." I was like, "Well, yeah, but
There's more stuff.
you still have to be able to write."
That's it. It's still entertainment.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
got to
Yeah.
keep the attention.
I just loved it because they would always, well, I forget if it was always or sometimes it would be like, and then it would include the bass tab as well.
Oh yeah, no, we always included the bass tab.
That was the best thing because like, unless you got the Bass Player magazine and then like you did, sometimes their songs weren't the best, like, and then you wanted to go to like Total Guitar or something, and then it was just guitar. I always loved that how Guitar would have the bass. It was like, I was almost like no one did that.
Well, because the bass magazine, would always have like sort of, fancy bass
Yeah,
stuff in it. And where most of the time, if you're a bass player, you're not playing like Stanley Clark or something.
yeah,
And yeah, so we always felt it was important to include the bass lines.
amen.
Yeah, because you bass players, I mean, you're still sort of musicians.
Yeah, just missing a couple of strings.
Yeah, exactly.
Abby, how you doing?
Chilling. I'm really enjoying you guys' little
Our banter.
Banter?
little man's club.
Yeah, I mean, that is sort of, I'm always like a little bit nervous to talk about that, sort of my older school attitude about Guitar World. But I did really initially sort of see that as a dude's magazine. But that's been really the sort of fascinating thing of the last, I don't know, I guess 10 years is, girls, women,
Yeah.
it's really opened up.
Yeah.
And even the sales of instruments, it's sort of almost evenly divided now
Wow.
between, yeah, a lot more girls playing.
Love to hear it.
Yeah.
I feel like growing up there were no girls play guitar. I was like, I didn't know many.
Really?
Yeah, girls weren't like interested in playing music. It was so strange to me.
Yeah.
I felt like such an alien.
Abby.
My last story for Guitar World
Okay.
was a cover story with Joan Jett.
Oh snap. Okay.
Damn.
Spill the tea, babe.
Yeah, I have a guitar signed by her. It's the only person I've ever asked to sign my guitar.
What kind of guitar is it?
Well, it's sort of Melody Maker knockoff, a banana yellow Melody
Cool.
Maker knockoff by this boutique company called Rock and Roll Relics. It's a good guitar.
Isn't Joan Jett Abbey from Long Beach?
I don't think she's from there. She has lived there. I'm not sure if I think she does still live there, but yes, she lives in Long Beach, my hometown.
Do you like how I tied that together?
Yeah, I've seen her there.
Have you ever seen Joan play?
Yeah, I saw Joan Jett play the last night CBGB's was open.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's
it was I mean, I've seen her play a bunch of times. My old band called the Lookaways, we actually opened for her on the Warp Tour like a zillion years ago, and she was so cool. She was just like riding her BMX bike backstage. Like I gave her a demo CD. I'm like, was it even a CD then? Yeah, it was a CD. She's amazing, but the CBGB show was crazy. It was so good. I had only seen her at like really big places before then, and seeing her at just such like a little like New York shithole was amazing. It was the coolest thing. It like I felt like it was like the 70s again, you know?
yeah. I saw her in a small venue one time too, like a smallish. She was playing someplace. It was at South by Southwest, and I've never been like a front person, so just always the guitar player in the background or whatever. But so what always impressed me about like certain front people and her in spades was like she just had like a facial expression for like everything, like I just couldn't believe how present she was when she was singing. It was like, there was an expression, there was a emotion, there was James Hetfield is super impressive that way. Like, the lyrics that come out, there's always something that really just goes into it. He's not up there just dancing around or whatever. And Joan, I just felt like, oh my God, she means every word of this. It was really impressive.
Yeah. It's true. She's amazing. I remember seeing her play at one of the Warp Tours one year, and I was just like, she's like actually rocks. Like she rocks out that she's like dripping of sweat. I feel like you don't see that many female guitarists, singers like that play like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And she's got certainly one of the greatest rhythm guitar sounds in the history of rock and roll.
That's
So good.
That's big coming from Brad Tolinski.
Yeah.
You heard it first.
I have great love for Joan Jett.
And Brad, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you, Sensei.
It's been so much fun.
I've never been out here on George Washington's nose before, so it's really great.
It's a great view, right?
It's breathtaking, really.
We just wanted to see it. Is there anything else you wanted to plug or just
I would
throw
just
in there?
say, next year for you people out there that are super punk rock fans and are into crazy rock and roll stories, be on the lookout for my MC5 book that's going to come out next year. And for those who, like to shred, hey man, my Van Halen book is still going strong. And if you guys want to go out there and read, it's called Eruption, Conversations with Eddie Van Halen. It's been given the thumbs up by Howard Stern, among others. Please do it. Do it now. Go to Amazon right this minute. And thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's always great talking with you guys, and maybe I'll see you in the flesh when I come back to New York City.
Yeah, let us know
Definitely.
for once.
Wait, what? Was that a dig there?
Little bit, little dig.
We will. We'll have to do it. We'll have
Okay.
to do it. But
No,
this has
we
been so
miss
awesome.
you.
And thank you so much for your time. Like just talking to us, I feel like you could be talking with some big
You could be talking with.
publication, but you're talking to us, so we really appreciate
Listen,
it.
as far as I'm concerned, this is the greatest podcast in the entire world.
This is the greatest podcast in the entire world.
You can quote me on that.
Thanks, Brad.
Oh my
That
God.
means a lot.
Thank you.
Talk to you guys later.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay.
Brad.
Okay, bye.
Bye.